Hello everyone, my name is Ian Gabrielson and I'm a secondary humanities teacher at YCIS Beijing. For my Course 5 Coetail project, I decided I wanted to redefine a unit in my IB Global Politics course, which I've been teaching for the past year. IB Global Politics is an exciting new Group 3 Individuals and Societies course that our school is helping to pilot for the IB and is anticipated to be open to all schools in 2015. Currently, our school has 3 sections of the course, with one section for the May 2014 session taught by my colleague Gareth Evans, and 2 sections for the May 2015 session taught by myself and my colleague Gareth. After spending considerable time thinking about which class and which unit I wanted to use for my Course 5 project, I decided Global Politics was the best fit because of the opportunities available for heavy tech integration in the course's internal assessment component. The Global Politics Internal Assessment task is designed to encourage students to actively engage with political issues and ideas. It provides an opportunity to explore the central unifying theme of the course, people, power, and politics, in practice and outside the classroom through examining and experiencing dynamics of political decision-making. Throughout the year, Gareth and I have been in contact with several of the other Global Politics teachers through various mediums, and one source in particular that I've been following closely is the work of Dr. Charles Gleek on his Global Politics blog, Games Without Frontiers. Personally, I've been quite intrigued with Dr. Gleek's philosophy on education, which links well with Coetail and the lessons that we've learned from the courses, and stresses the importance of embedding games and simulations into our Global Politics lessons and units. Over the course of the year, I've been in contact with Dr. Gleek, who has given me permission to use and adapt several of his activities, and it was through his website that I stumbled upon what I needed for Coetail Course 5, which was our simulation Peacemaker. The Peacemaker simulation fit perfectly with what Gareth and I were working on at the time, our unit on peace and conflict, and after talking it out with Gareth, it seemed to be exactly what we were looking for an engagement activity for our students. The simulation focuses on a number of the key areas from the syllabus, including causes and parties to conflict, manifestations of conflict, conflict dynamics, third-party involvement in a conflict, conflict resolution, including peacemaking and peace building, all set within a comprehensive case study of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
From its beginnings, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been more than a local fight between 2 groups who want the same piece of land. It has confounded the expectations of the great powers trying to resolve it, and created unintended consequences that have had a substantial impact beyond the region. Arguably, no conflict on earth combines so complex a mixture of religious fervor, national aspirations, historical and economic grievances, territorial rivalry, and geopolitical impact.
Well, we needed an engagement activity for the students, something that they were actively involved in. And Peacemaker fitted in with what we were doing with peace and conflict. And the really good thing about Peacemaker is that, although it seems like a game, it's much more serious than that. But because it was like a video game, because it was like something that they were used to doing, they engage with that activity really easily.
Identifying the simulation as our engagement activity, I set out on designing tools for the students to use to record their experiences and analyze them using course concepts. Using Google Documents as a platform for student journaling, students would be required to work collaboratively to record their decisions, experiences, and results during each gameplay. After each gameplay, using a set of specifically designed debrief questions to help them reflect on their experiences and plan for their next game, students would be required to both discuss and then journal on their experience.
from the point of view of technology, I mean, as I mentioned before, is the fact that we had no control, the students had no control over what the simulation is going to get them to do, taking them in different directions. And that wouldn't be possible if it was a card game or a board game or anything like that. It's that instant reaction, it's that instant response that the computer gives back to the decision that you've made that makes it go so quickly and so smoothly. You can run through a whole scenario relatively quickly, whereas if you're looking at cards and you're having to read different documents and collate stuff and make decisions and roll dice with the old style, you're not going to have that immediate response that the technology gives you. I mean, one of the interesting things was when we had two students working, they started on the same level, they were playing the same leader, and they had two different computers and they were making the same decisions. And what was interesting was the same results weren't happening. After the second or third decision, things started to diverge. So even though the students were making the same decisions, different results were accruing, and that was what makes this such a good simulation, because
national online two incidents. Israeli against Hamas leaders organization.
While running the simulation in class, each team would be tasked to play both the Israeli and the Palestinian Prime Minister roles, as well as try each level of difficulty in order to compare and contrast their experiences. Furthermore, interspersed throughout the gameplay were scenarios or goals to engage the students in various different ways, such as focusing on solving the issue without foreign intervention or purposely losing as fast as they could in order to analyze why some actions were particularly inflammatory and caused diplomacy to break down at such a rapid rate.
I mean, in terms of actual student engagement, it's so good. I think a couple of things that really stand out that I remember are the outrage that students had when they made what they thought was a good decision and it has a negative response. They're confused by why I did a good thing and they don't like me anymore. As they're looking at the approval graphs across the bottom as they go down instead of up. But I think the best day of all, the best session of all, was where students deliberately set out, this was their choice, they deliberately set out to make the wrong decision because they wanted to see what happened. This all followed on from making the good decision and getting the bad result. So they wanted to see what happened if they deliberately made the worst decision that they for the situation they were presented with. And it was horrifying and really eye-opening for the students that they made the wrong decisions and led to total chaos in 3 moves. The 3 decisions led to a complete breakdown of the relationship between Israel and Palestine, and basically...
To supplement the students' learning from playing the game, students were given a range of resources and articles to learn more about the history and the reality of the conflict and engage them in an inquiry investigation. One particularly useful source was the Council of Foreign Relations Interactive Crisis Guide on the Israeli-Palestinian crisis.
It's impossible to understand the Arab-Israeli conflict without understanding the territorial dispute it's rooted in, and the questions of national and religious identity therein.
To further supplement our students' learning, Gareth and I opted to take advantage of our unique position as an international school in a major capital city, with embassies and political actors right on our doorstep. We set out on a task of finding or seeing if we can get experts in this particular area or crisis to come and talk to our students, or, even better, getting our students to visit some of the embassies here in Beijing. We were able to secure both. In a special 2-hour conference held at our school, First Secretary Imad Halabi and Second Secretary Salah Shahab from the Embassy of the State of Palestine in Beijing discussed the reality of the situation and offered valuable first-hand knowledge of the conflict for our students. Perhaps more than anything else, this helped to personalize what the students were learning throughout their engagement activity. Secondly, we were able to secure a visit for our students to the Israeli embassy here in Beijing. Again, this was going to be an outstanding opportunity for our students to learn from individuals and actors who have first-hand experience in the conflict. However, due to the embassy strikes in March that affected Israeli embassies around the globe, we had to postpone our visit. However, we have been lucky enough to reschedule our visit to the Israeli embassy and plan on doing so in early June. Finally, with a well-timed strike of luck, several of the global politics teachers organized 2 online discussions on the concept of sovereignty, a major concept and issue within our case study of Israel and Palestine. Using the platform Blackboard Learning, students from YCIS, Overseas Family School in Singapore, North Broward Preparatory School in Florida, and the International School of Panama met in 2 separate 2-hour sessions to discuss the concept of sovereignty. The first session included over 35 students from YCIS Beijing and the Overseas Family School in Singapore, and the second, 12 hours later, included over 30 students from YCIS, North Broward Preparatory School, and the International School of Panama. This was a great opportunity for our students to not only demonstrate what they had been learning through the Palestine and Israeli case study, but also to build upon their learning and knowledge of the course as a whole. Moreover, the students have been encouraged to use that opportunity to build their own personal learning network of global politics students that they can consult and collaborate with for the remainder of their course. Adding to this, our students and many of the students from the Overseas Family School were lucky enough to meet each other face-to-face a few weeks later at the Beijing Model United Nations Conference.
Constructive debate. We also had a debate last night.
Furthermore, after the success of the first online discussion, another forum discussion has been set up for early next month, and it will include even more global politics students from the other pilot schools. After all of this, students were set the task of writing their engagement reports. Being the first of several planned for the remainder of the course, students were given the opportunity to work collaboratively on drawing out the main points for their report. However, each was required to submit their own individual work. Within the report, students were asked to describe what they did for the engagement activity, including a clear description of the issues they explored and the reasons why they chose these particular issues. Explain their roles and responsibilities in the engagement activity, and use what they have learned to analyze the issues and synthesize their learning from their activities within the learning from the research and investigation in order to evaluate different perspectives on the political issue. Because we have yet to visit the Israeli embassy, there is still some work yet to be done on our engagement reports. However, the products so far have been quite pleasing, with the students demonstrating a great deal of higher learning from the unit and the activities. Particularly impressive has been observing their growth in their approaches to tackling highly complex issues and the care that they used to look at and evaluate issues from multiple perspectives. As Gareth mentioned, the role of technology was tantamount in redefining student learning and experience in this engagement activity. From the role of serving as a platform for collaboration and discussion to providing a real-time dynamic political environment for decision-making, this engagement activity and unit would not have been possible without the extreme integrated use of technology. The success of Peacemaker has led to the planning and integrating of a range of other computer games and simulations into our course. Some of them include Against All Odds, a look at the refugees and their experiences, and the Facebook game Half the Sky, which looks at gender issues, particularly gender empowerment in economics and education. Overall, this project has reiterated my belief in the integral roles that technology and gameplay should have in the classroom. Thank you for watching.